There was once a beautiful maiden that was so lovely that all who saw her admired her. Even in all her loveliness, she was wild, full of mischief, and at many times cruel to those around her. In time, she married an older man, but soon became bored with his company. One day, while he was away visiting family, she noticed a stranger sitting up on the hill behind her village. Carrying a large pot of her husband's finest beer, she went to him and offered him the drink. Looking closer at the stranger, she noticed he was young and handsome, and she could see he was strong, more than any man that she had ever met before. For this, she was correct, for he was a great Sangoma witch doctor from the other world, journeying to meet his brothers. The woman was pleasant and the beer was cold, so the Sangoma drank and presently became drunk. While in this state, the woman seduced him, and after he had fallen asleep, she left. When he woke, he remembered nothing of the event except for a pleasant dream and went his way. Sometime later, the woman gave birth to a boy who from the day of his birth was strong and handsome. After the years passed, the child became a man, but unions between this world and the other are rarely without mishap, for it soon became clear that the boy was different. He had great strength and magical abilities, and a will to lead others, but those qualities didn't come without a dark side, for he was also lustful and cruel and savage and vain. Although just one man, he visited many huts. One day, the men of the village decided they should rid themselves of this problem, and together they captured and beat him until his bones were broken. And then they tied him to a tree deep in the forest to be eaten by wild animals. The pain he endured was terrible, and finally the echoes of his screams reached the ears of his true father in the other world, who came to see what the noise was about. The great witch doctor and teacher of all others at once recognized his son and freed him, but was dismayed by both the damage to the young man's body and the wickedness of his soul. The witch doctor tried to take his son back to the other world, but was resisted. The young man pleaded for healing and a chance for vengeance, a chance to remain in this world. Seeing that his son was already lost to him, the witch doctor agreed and healed him as best he could. But the result was a dwarf of great ugliness. Seeing that he had created a monster, the witch doctor cast a great spell and laid commands upon the creature. To what was left of his son, he said, "You were created from the act of seduction, and so you will forever be a seducer of women." As he spoke, the dwarf's manhood grew to an alarming size. Because it was beer and milk that created temptation, you will forever crave these foods. Because you are half spirit, you will have magic, but not without limits. He then picked up the horns of an antelope and pressed them to his son's head, where they fastened themselves, as if he had been born with them. This is so that none shall confuse you with an ordinary man, and because the men will want to beat you. I will say that you may beat any man that calls you without cause, or even stands in your way. So with that, his father handed him a club of the hardest wood and the gift of even greater strength. But because of the wickedness in your heart, you are forbidden from going where you are not called by the wickedness of people. You shall only ever make sons, and they will appear as you do, so that all people will always recognize you in your tribe of descendants. And because I am your father and I have saved your life, you will always come when I summon you, or if any of my brothers do the same. Thinking that his son would reject these terms, he asked for agreement, which his son gave without hesitation. Realizing that he truly no longer had a son, he said, "I shall call you Tokoloshe, avenging spirit, and any that speak your name beware." He then used a burning assegai to remove the boy's heart, which still contained good, and it turned into a bird that flew away. The Tokoloshe then returned to the village and carried out his need for vengeance with carnal passion and unbridled savagery. But it was not enough, and the hunger persisted, and so it would forever. In time, he had sons, and they had sons, and so the tribe of the Tokoloshe, until every kraal in the world has one hiding in the darkness, just waiting to be called by the wickedness of those that cannot control their desires. This is the tale of the African Tokoloshe. Many people in Africa are still reluctant to discuss the Tokoloshe, as many believe that even using his name will call him to you, and naturally, trouble will follow. What are the Tokoloshe? Today we visit South Africa to learn about these dwarfy creatures, a small and terrifying creature that seriously messes with your ability to have a restful night's sleep. Tokoloshe are a creature from Zulu mythology that inhabit South Africa. These creatures are malevolent and very dangerous, that feeds on the spiritual energy of its victims. They are said to crawl into sleeping people's rooms and cause all kinds of havoc, from simply scaring them all the way to choking them to death with their long, bony fingers. It seems to particularly enjoy scaring children, often leaving them with long scratches on their bodies. These creatures attack you in your sleep and are said to be part of the reason why many people in the Zulu culture used to sleep with their beds raised off the floor. Most often depicted as a dwarf of approximately 3.5 feet in height. Sometimes they are described as small humanoid creatures like gremlins or brownies. He is always a male and has a sizable genital. In some cases, his manhood is so long he can carry it slung over his shoulder. The Tokoloshe is packing meat, which he uses to make love to his master witch. He loves milk and other foods, and he is rewarded accordingly. He is often stocky in build with a potbelly, but he is known to take on many forms. Some descriptions claim that he also has 2 animal horns that protrude from the side of his head. He favors being barefoot, and his feet and legs are said to be hairy, although this should not be confused with fur. His eyes are said to be red and capable of seeing as well in the dark as in the day. His fingernails are said to be sharp and strong. Although ugly to men, he can cast a spell to make himself handsome to women. It is said that he still dresses in traditional manner, similar to the clothes worn by witch doctors or tribal chiefs, and favors a cloak made of leopard skin, although he will wrap himself in the skin of baboon if he could. He often wears a necklace of beads, stones, feathers, and other magical objects that he has acquired during his life. It is common for him to carry a club made of hard wood and to conceal a knife in his clothes. Around his waist you will find a pouch in which he keeps a strange potion with unknown properties. He is usually a very unpleasant character, and his tricks can range from simple mischief to acts of violence and savage cruelty. Tokoloshe are creatures called upon by those with magical abilities, like witches, to wreak havoc and pain in a community. Tokoloshe are blamed for everything from murder and possession to divorce and debt. One of the ways the witches are able to keep them docile is to cut the hair out of their eyes so they can see, and feed them curdled milk. But why was the Tokoloshe such a prominent and terrifying creature? And why did it only attack the sleeping? Well, there might actually be a real terrifying reason for the creation of this creature. Let's back up to the sleeping arrangements. As mentioned above, raising beds are a very important way to combat the Tokoloshe. Traditionally, many South Africans in areas rife with the Tokoloshe myth slept on grass mats encircling a warm wood fire that would keep them warm during the bitter winter nights. However, sometimes healthy people would unexplainably be found dead come morning. Why? Well, the Tokoloshe, of course. Let's get into the origin of the creature. There is a theory that sleeping close to the fire in their homes may have depleted the oxygen levels and filled the home with carbon dioxide. As it is heavier than pure air, it would sink to the bottom of the home where people slept. Thus, seemingly healthy people and sometimes entire families would be found dead. A parallel was found between elevated sleepers and a lack of death, so the Tokoloshe was told as a story for warning those who slept close to the ground and the fire. While it might not be an actual malevolent creature, what kept away the Tokoloshe would also keep away death from carbon monoxide. Another version of the Tokoloshe's origin and nature is that this imp is more a mix between Frankenstein monster and a zombie, created by South African shamans who had been offended by someone or made for the client who wished to make havoc for someone else out of jealousy. To create a Tokoloshe, a shaman or sorcerer would join parts of the dead bodies to form a small human-like figure. And once finished, the shaman would pierce the Tokoloshe's skull with a red-hot poker or rod, gifting the creature with new life and some magic powers. In Zulu magic, heat power is among the strongest forces in nature. So by poking a hole with a heated instrument, the shaman infuses the Tokoloshe with some of that power. As protection, the eyes of the Tokoloshe would have been gouged, so that it would never rebel against its creator. The lack of eyes, however, is not a problem for them, as Tokoloshe use their other senses to find their way around without difficulty. A reason why some believe Tokoloshes may possess a sort of sixth sense that allows them to see the world beyond the physical. According to legend, the only way to truly destroy a Tokoloshe is to find and destroy the muthi left by the witch doctor, which gives the Tokoloshe its power. Muthi is a catch-all term for traditional African medicine. The muthi supposedly used in the creation of the Tokoloshe involves a selection of oils, herbal balms, and the body parts of various animals. This mixture is then buried close to the house of the person that the Sangoma wishes the Tokoloshe to attack. A practicing Sangoma for 10 years says he has seen it all. These creatures are brought to our plane of reality through witchcraft and powerful muti. They are sent by those who are envious and seek to see those around them fall on hard times. It can be sent from one province to another, or next door. When it comes and is left untreated, businesses, marriages, and even life can come to an end. I've seen cases where the Tokoloshe is in complete control of the person. It inhabits and controls them. People black out and wake up naked in the middle of a field when the Tokoloshe decides to take a rest. They have no idea how they got there or what they have been doing in some cases, even days prior. To rid of this creature, you must hire a witch doctor who can sprinkle mystical powder created from the corpse of an already deceased Tokoloshe. He sprinkles this powder at the entrance of the farm, where the Tokoloshe stills his preferred cow's milk. Upon entering, the Tokoloshe becomes paralyzed and trapped by the witch doctor. And the best preventative is to sleep with your bed up off the floor. This evil spirit becomes invisible by drinking water or eating a pebble. It likes to scare children, but its creepiness extends far beyond that. They also cause illness and death to the victim. Some say only children can see it, which is why killing adults is easier. If ever spotted, never draw attention to it. This creature is mischievous, but only malevolent when controlled by an evil sorcerer or a jealous foe. Some people claim night terrors are the first sign that the Tokoloshe is after you. Others say it's the dreams you have. The interesting fact is the dreams are often good. In fact, they're so good it feels like your luck is changing. You might dream about a young, handsome man or woman sweeping you off your feet only to get it on in a fiery blaze of passion. You sleep like a baby with these great dreams, and you'll never see the creature sneaking into your room and climbing into your bed and stealing your life away. You'll know when a Tokoloshe is looking to get you. You'll need to seek the help of a Sangoma quickly. There are a few options that you have. The Sangoma can speak with your ancestors and ask them to protect you. This would be done in a session where you must pay and burn incense. One witch doctor said, "I know certain people that use the blood of a black chicken to cleanse a person's body. I don't use a black one, and I never kill the chicken. I take just enough blood to place on my client's face and body. I then set the chicken free." When asked about the raising of the beds, he said, "It works, which is why many people do it. The scary thing is that a Tokoloshe can be amped up or made to work harder to get inside a person. For years, the white community in South Africa had noticed that their maids tended to raise their beds by placing 3 bricks under each leg. The belief that was circulated amongst the whites was that this was to stop the Tokoloshe getting into bed with them because it was now too high for them to reach. And this practice is still continued till this day in some African places. However, given that he is an immensely strong and somewhat magical creature, this always seemed like too little too late. It may be a classic misunderstanding. The maids did raise their beds, but for totally different reasons. First, it made it much harder for snakes to get under their sheets, and second, so they can store their traveling trunks underneath. To be fair, many referred to the snake as the Tokoloshe, and out of the women that were interviewed, it was said that it was for protection from the Tokoloshe, and by putting themselves out of reach, it was letting the Tokoloshe know that he was not invited. There have been many attempts from the native Africans to explain the origin of the beliefs of the Tokoloshe, and some of these include, it's an excuse invented by women to explain adultery, and others just explain it as a rurette monkey standing on its hind legs, or even a species of water baboon that is now extinct. The main explanation is the ugliness of jealousy and what it causes. Or perhaps it is what it always has been, a Tokoloshe. Some Zulu people and other southern African tribes are still superstitious when it comes to things like the supposedly fictional Tokoloshe, a hairy creature created by a witch doctor to harm his enemies, and also known to bite off sleeping people's toes. This African urban legend, which has been told in many parts of the continents for centuries, the exact origin of the Tokoloshe is unknown, but stories of its sightings and misdeeds date back for centuries. According to folklore, it is able to move between the physical and the spiritual realms, and will often haunt people at night by tapping on their windows or making loud noises. It can also be summoned by witches or other supernatural beings, and used as an instrument of revenge and jealousy. One of the most famous sightings of the Tokoloshe occurred in South Africa in the 1950s. A farmer reported that he was visited by a strange creature outside his home late at night. He described the creature as being about 2 feet tall with a long tail, pointed ears, and a head like a dog. Mr. Petiers also reported that the creature had a large mouth, full of sharp teeth, and was capable of making noises like a pig. Another famous sighting occurred in Zimbabwe in the 1980s, when a small village was terrorized by a small creature they called the Tokoloshe. The villagers claimed that the creature would knock off their doors late at night and then disappear. They also reported that the creature could make itself invisible or transform into a fly or a frog. In conclusion, at some point in life, you have been envious of someone's success, and you have felt jealousy. These feelings, although uncomfortable to some, can lead to insane amounts of horrible action by others. They call it the demon of jealousy. Others call it the green demon. In South Africa, this entity comes in the form of a zombie goblin that will kill you while you sleep, and they call it the Tokoloshe. Thank you all for watching this episode, The Tokoloshe, and be sure to stick around for next week, the next episode of the Mythical Creatures. I will pick another creature. If you liked it, please share it out, and I just want to thank you all again. See you guys next time.